the Kenyan music has a serious problem. And this problem stems from two issues that most Kenyan artists overlook. The first one, you see, Kenyan artists have realized that they don't need to be talented to become superstars, right? They will grind for years and then they get approval and then they just ride with the wave. But I just have a serious problem. How is it possible that even though Kenya has had big artists in the past, none of these people ever make a living sustainably from music for long? They get to a certain age and then they just plateau. So what happens? And when I was trying to answer this question, I realized that they are not musicians. They don't embrace music. They don't seek musicians. They don't work with musicians. And when I say this, I mean musicians like guitarists, pianists, drummers, basically classical musicians. If you do not work with classical musicians and you yourself are not a classically trained musician, then you do not have sustainability in the music business. It means that you cannot create high quality and entertaining records for, extended amount of time. And so you cannot come up with new ideas. You'll get to a point where you will begin to sound repetitive, right? Because you just cannot experiment. You just cannot come up with a session that was more live than it was a studio and then turn it into a studio session and release it as a record, which is how people survive. So, of course, there are other issues like Kenyan artists don't work with songwriters. They don't embrace the idea of having songwriters. So, with them, they don't write music. They do not transcribe music. It's just vibes and that is it. And I would also blame the audience for this because they entertain mediocrity. The consumer base we have in the country is not musically intelligent. They don't study music in school, even at a rudimentary level. So they really don't know what music is. With them, they just want to feel good, to dance and to sing along to something. And once they are done with you, they will look for another artist and then do the same. And it's the same. So if your audience is not musically intelligent, they do not know what to tell you. I mean, there are countries that are more musically intelligent than Kenya. And you can tell this, if you look at countries like Italy, if you look at countries like the USA, if you look at countries like Spain, if you go to Brazil, those are countries where the audience is musically literate to some extent. And you can look at just how countries handle music as part of a rudimentary curriculum in education in the formative years for children, And so when you have a population that is not musically intelligent, it is very hard as an artist to get feedback that is going to help you build a sustainable career. So when you put music aside, when you don't work with musicians, when you don't work with songwriters, when you don't work with with experts, your sustainability is done. Another issue, and this is very, very important. I want you to listen to this carefully if you're an artist, if you're a recording artist. The reason you're not going anywhere, the reason you won't go anywhere, I even had another 76-year-old Kenyan artist still dreaming of winning a Grammy. No, you won't win it. You won't. Not in this lifetime. Maybe in the next. I'm sorry. And this 70-year-old Kenyan artist is still dreaming of winning a Grammy. You cannot win a Grammy with the kind of vocal mixing that is happening in Kenya. I don't know what is wrong with these guys. I seriously don't know what is wrong with these people, but something is seriously wrong with the so-called audio engineers in the country. Okay, so there's in mixing vocals, in the world of mixing vocals, there's this lemma that if you overcompress vocals, they will sound nice. And of course, professionals know that you have to do the overcompression tastefully. Now, for those of you who do not know what compression is when you use a software to reduce the louder part of the vocals and bring up the quieter parts of the vocal recording so that the overall loudness of the vocals does not fluctuate from one point between points in a song, right? So you want it to be, you don't want some sections to be overly too loud and other sections to be overly too quiet. Of course, there are advantages of having some sections being loud and others being quiet, but in most cases, it is recommended that you compress the vocals. But the people who compress vocals in Kenya don't know what they are doing. I'm sure I can tell you that these people don't know what they are doing at all. They do not know what they are doing at all. These people, okay, listen, and I'm going to demonstrate to you. These people compress vowels. Who does that? I mean, which audio engineer in his right mind compresses vowels? These people compress formants. Who compresses formants? Who in their right minds compresses formants, right? These people, they over-compress vocals to a point that the expression dies, okay? Before recording, I did have an example to illustrate this. Now, if you take a raw session of a Kenyan vocal recording, it may sound something like Nipe nigonge. Okay? That is like a raw vocal. You will take it, it will sound like Nipe nigonge. So we have vowels here, I, which is in nipe, so I and E, and then we have O, the Nipe nigonge. You get that? So we have a vowel there in O, which is sustained, nigonge. That's O, that is sustained. Now, if you take, that is the raw vocal recording in a Kenyan record. The moment the engineers, okay, quote unquote, engineers are done with that vocal, it will sound like Nipe nigonge. You get the difference? The raw one is Nipe nigonge. Then the processed one will be like Nipe nigonge. You're like, what is Nipe nigonge? It was Nipe nigonge. Then the Nipe nigonge. What is that? Listen, if you think I'm lying, if you think that I'm lying, if you think that I'm disparaging these people's reputation, I want you to go find Kenyan songs and listen to the Kiswahili in those songs and imagine in your head what that is. Listen, it's not like when they make those parts sound that flat and dead and soulless and lifeless, like the song was supposed to be intonated that way. That's not the case. When they do that, it's not about intonation at all. It's because when they were processing these vocals, they just over-compressed it and they compressed the vowels, they compressed the formants, and they therefore killed the emotion. They killed the expression. I don't want to name names, but go take Kenyan urban records. And this is probably why people find Tanzanian music smooth, even though Tanzanian audio engineers are not necessarily, they're not necessarily geniuses, because from the information I have, the intelligence I have on them is that they use presets and they used chains bought from the very top engineers over there. Also because their so-called best artist is signed to a major record label, and so they sort of ship engineer secrets to this guy, and they tell him, do not deviate from this, and so there's this image of some local genius, when the truth is that the entire thing is managed by a trusted internal engineer by the major label. Anyway, if you people want to win Grammy records, right? If you people want to win the Grammys, if you people want to be international, if you people want to be respected globally, you have to bring back musicians in the studio. You yourselves have to pick guitars and start learning and knowing how to play guitars. You have to go back and start studying piano. You have to learn the piano and know how to play the piano. You have to think like musicians. You cannot have vocals and drums and expect yourself to win a Grammy. You cannot win any international award with that. You will never win any international award with that. That's just the truth. Okay? So even if you were to sing to a point where you vomit blood, with that kind of vocal mixing and the kind of compositions you people use, you will never win anything at all. It has to be music, drums, guitars, keys, synths, organ. The music has to be there. And then you give it to a competent engineer who knows how to carve space for vocals so that vocals and the guitars do not clash. But because you do not know how to do this, you decide to strip off all the guitars. You remove all the guitars out of it, right? Because you do not know how to do it. And yet you have to release a record and your audience is too dumb to know what a good song is. They cannot tell you what is wrong with it because they are musically illiterate. And the people you surround yourself, the people with whom you surround yourself are not musically literate, so they cannot tell you any meaningful feedback because they don't know how to criticize. Otherwise, they would tell you. But I now have to come, instead of creating my own projects, I have to come and tell you that you people are killing your dreams, you're killing your records because of how you compress the vocals, over-compress them, okay? The rules of compressing vocals are simple, and I've said it over and over again throughout this episode, that you do not ever, at any given point in a song, whether it's a rap vocal, singing vocal in a folk music, or singing vocal in R&B record, you do not compress the vowels. You do not compress the formants. Don't do that. Don't compress the vowels. Don't compress the formants. If you do not know where the vowels are or where the formants are, just make the beats. Give it to the artist. Let the artist record, then send them to the expert. You understand? I don't have to start teaching you where the formants are or where the vowels are in a vocal recording because you people are taking good songs and destroying them. You're reducing them into lifeless pieces of junk. That's what you're doing. A song is good. The song is good. You can feel the expression trying to come, but the expression is dead because you over-compressed the vowels. Last year, a certain urban recording artist released an album. In this album, she was trying to experiment with singing. This is an artist who is known for rapping, right? So when this artist released the album, and people were like, what is this? What is she trying to do? Some people were blaming autotune. Autotune has nothing to do with that. Autotune has nothing to do with the expressions or the formats, right? Just pitching, it's pitch correction. But you people took a record. I know a specific record in that album that was a love song, a desperate love song, Desperados. You took that record, over-compressed the vowels, killed the emotions, the feelings are dead, and then now the record sounds like a piece of junk when it's supposed to make people feel something. Because you guys don't know what you're doing, and you cannot admit that you do not know how to do these things, and you're too proud to go to school to study these things. So now we have records that are just junks everywhere. And if the artists are lucky, they'll probably pay some radio presenter somewhere to play the song on radio, and then now because it's being played on radio, it's good. It's not good. Otherwise, it would... look at the views you get, right? You get 20 million views and then you're happy. Songs are getting 1 billion views. 1 billion. One song getting 1 billion views. There are artists out there who, when they are recording their studio sessions, they're behind the scenes, they get more views than what you and your song, which you claim to be a love song, can ever get. You overcompress everything. You do not know. Come to the expert and we will help you. Anyway, until next time, I'll see you in the next episode. This was Bill Omondi Audio Services, where we specialize in making modern beats, and then we offer Grammy-level mixing and mastering services. You contact us and you will get the best audio quality ever, world over. Till next time, bye.